beneficiaries and ensure support reaches the most vulnerable households. In fact, in the last financial year, we saved over 2 billion shillings by cleaning the register for cash transfer, just to make sure that the right people are actually targeted. Number two, enhancing transparency and accountability by expanding the use of digital payment systems and strengthening program management information systems, which provide clear audit trails and improve in traceability of public resources. Number three, reinforcing equitable allocation of resources by applying objective criteria such as poverty levels, vulnerability, and exposure to shock, so that counties and communities most in need receive proportionate support. Number four, strengthening of verification, monitoring, and audit systems, including periodic beneficiary validation, enhanced internal controls, and independent oversight to curb leakages and provide value for money. Finally, the government is improving coordination across ministries, departments, agencies, and county governments, and strengthening grievance and complaint mechanisms so that citizens can support exclusion errors or misuse of resources and receive timely address. So government acknowledges the importance of generating and making use of evidence in policy formulation and implementation. So, Mr. Speaker, I want also just to mention participatory poverty assessment is a strategic evidence generation process that complements traditional statistical data and provides deep insights into how poverty is experienced by households across Kenya. So participatory poverty assessment are used internationally and in Kenya and in the past to gather qualitative information from poor and vulnerable communities themselves, capturing their perspectives on living conditions, access to services, barriers to opportunity, and the real-world impact of government policies and programs on their daily lives. And this assessment generates evidence that is crucial for refining policies, improving targeting, and enhancing program effectiveness. Given the value of this evidence to strengthen policy formulation and ensure programs under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda are responsive to the lived realities of the poor, I now formally request that Parliament consider allocating dedicated resources in the financial year 26-27 budget to undertake the sixth participatory poverty assessment. This allocation would support nationwide fieldwork, stakeholder consultation, data analysis, and dissemination of findings, ensuring that the government has up-to-date, community-driven insights to guide poverty reduction and household hardship alleviation strategies going forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Wakoli, do you have any supplementary questions? Good. So, Senator Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. CS, my question is on the Nyota program. There was a government policy that in all funds, 5% of it was to be allocated to persons with disability. And there is a complaint all over the country that the persons with disability are not adequately benefiting from this program. Can you tell this House how many persons with disability have benefited from this program? Thank you.
Honorable CS, just take note of that question and take more so that you can respond to maybe 10 of them at a go. Senator Muma.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker, and Karibu, Honorable CS. Honorable CS, my question relates to the support to TVET institutions. You will agree that the greatest mitigation strategy to reduce poverty is enabling members of families to actually be able to stand on their own. Honorable CS, we just learned from one committee that you have not deployed even 1 shilling to the new funding models for TVETs for financial years 2023-2024, 2024-2025, 2025-2026, and as a result, learners from the most poor families are actually dropping off because their capitation or under the new funding model has not happened in the TVETs. And yet we still have many other who have not yet joined TVETs. How can we be reducing poverty if we don't honor such a basic need?
Senator Chute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to thank CS for being here today. But the CS talked about investment in marginalized areas for the last maybe 4 years or 5 years. I wanted the CS to mention one project which has been started and completed in Marsabit County, a county which is the largest in this republic. One project. Thank you.
Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Honorable Speaker, listening to the CS, some of the figures that he was throwing around left me a bit confused. In December last year, Honorable Speaker, there was a report by Oxfam titled Kenya's Inequality Crisis, the Great Economic Divide. The report from Oxfam put the figure of Kenyans living under extreme poverty at 50%. I've heard the Honorable CS talking about 39.8, and they cited certain reasons, including the rising cost of living and inflation, which is at 50% higher than it was in 2020. We spoke about that period before COVID. My question specifically to the CS is about this Nyota program. You said it has received a lot of publicity because you publicize it. It is essentially a political rally. So the question I want to ask the CS on these Nyota funds, can you tell this House the expense side of hosting those Nyota events? How much it costs for you to put up those fanciful tents that we see? How much it costs to transport all of you, including the president, to those events? And lastly, why you allow politics to be played on those podiums? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I have a question to the CS. This is a very important subject that you are discussing on alleviating poverty amongst our citizens. And I must appreciate the interventions that have been listed and the measures that government is putting in place to try and help the less fortunate amongst us. There's a figure that the CS mentioned that by a cleanup of the register, they were able to save 2 billion shillings in the cash transfer program for the vulnerable in our society. Apart from cleaning up the register, were there any sanctions, CS, to public officers who may have been involved in either populating a list with people who are not deserving or ghost beneficiaries, Mr. Speaker? Last comment on Nyota is that I want to ask the CS to publicize it as much as possible alongside any other programs. Any program that helps citizens and makes their life better, Mr. Speaker, I believe should be publicized as much as possible. I thank you.
Senator Manzo.
Speaker, the CS talked about Gulalu irrigation project, and I want just to ask him generally on agriculture that Gulalu's project was to be stabilized by flow of water from Thwake Dam, which for the last 3 years, no progress at all has happened. Funding had been promised by African Development Bank by December. Up to now, there's no progress at all. And this will trigger irrigation in several counties, Kitui, Makueni, Kajiado, Machakos, and even the lower eastern counties, the lower counties around Gulalu. So what is he doing about that to make sure you spur irrigation on that? And finally, Mr. Speaker.
No, you're allowed to ask only one question, Honorable Senator. Senator Richard Mogu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And thanks, CS, for availing yourself. My question is, I went to Rwanda last year around November, and the system in social activities in Rwanda targets whole family, that is family unit, to alleviate and make them be on their feet. And then what I see that helps is the assessment that goes on. They go to that family, see how it has alleviated and helped, and the change that has taken place. Now, a lot of activities, as you mentioned, have gone on, but how much assessment is being carried to make sure that it is effective and helping people? Because you can pump things or money into a system, but that system is not reaching where it's supposed to be reaching, and therefore families continue to languish in poverty, and yet there is a lot of pumping into a system that is not reaching the targeted people.
Senator Enoch Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, poverty is a present reality in this country, actually made worse by the current drought situation. Mr. Speaker, I am a bit taken aback by the figures that the CS has brought here, because I'm wondering then if you're relying on figures for 2022 to address a problem in 2026, then, Mr. Speaker, I think there's a problem. I want to know, and this time, Mr. Speaker, I remember we were debating something and I was saying, I am not very sure if the 3.3 million people that we are saying are in need of urgent support, relief support, is actually a reflection of the reality on the ground. So the figures that we have here, most of them are drawn from 2022. We are in 2026, in the midst of a drought situation. I don't know what figures they're using to plan to alleviate poverty in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Veronica Minor.
Honorable CS, thank you for coming to answer the questions in this House. We have some CSs who don't bother to even apologize sometimes when they are not available for this question time, and it's crucial. And more importantly, we require that when you undertake something on the floor of the House, you ensure it's performed. Honorable CS, as you can very well tell from your report, which I know you have prepared with a lot of caution, just to make sure that it's factual and it represents the reality, we have a very poor population in the Republic of Kenya. And in Murang'a County, we have people living in extreme poverty, Honorable Speaker, who require very, very key intervention. And I know your report has disaggregated the counties. Honorable CS, I don't know whether you are aware that right now there are fires that have caught, there are some homes that have caught fire within Murang'a County, and that population of the people who have faced those fires do not even have a home they can call a home. What is your ministry doing to ensure that the fires that have happened in Kegumo, fires that have happened in Kangema, in a place called Kiawambogo, fires that have happened in Kandara, and even old people whose homes they are rained on? I mean, when they are asleep inside their home, they are rained on. What is your ministry doing anything to intervene for those people living in extreme hardcore poverty within the counties, and particularly Murang'a County? What are you doing? I have like lineup of 7 homes that need very urgent intervention.
Now, honorable senators, avoid making lengthy speeches. Go straight to the question so that we can have as many questions addressed to the CS. Senator Betty Montet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable CS, you talked about the social transfers. My question then is to where you stand. From where you stand, do you think that these transfers are aimed at poverty reduction or it is a poverty mitigation strategy? And is it not time that the figures are reviewed?
Senator Abbas.
Honourable Speaker, I want to ask the CS that this country, as you rightly said, almost 13 counties are facing drought, and they are above the poverty level status. And this has been there for long years and many years. CS. You know, this country.
No, honorable senators, I'll remind you again.
Okay, let me ask a question. CS, how much money was allocated for drought intervention in northern Kenya and wherever there's a drought? A lot of, I've seen food being distributed, and we cannot continue relying on food alone every time. This country has to change its policy in terms of, drought interventions. If you just look at Burkina Faso, which has been in the middle of desert today, as surplus production of food just because of one person who made the life change in that country. So what is the plan for the country, for this country, to produce, drought interventions in time and to have enough food for food production to avoid giving ad hoc food supply in the drought-stricken areas?
Senator Consolata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity, and to welcome CS. You have outlined a myriad of interventions to boost economic levels. However, my question is this, that which mechanisms has your ministry put in place to inform on the selection criteria of the beneficiaries of these opportunities? Which monitoring and evaluation tool do you have? And finally, which one is your feedback mechanism have you put in place to realize on the uptake of these opportunities? I'm so disappointed that Bungoma County has been rated highest in poverty.
Senator Cherange Sampson.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. And Waziri, just a quick one. You have discussed the issue of poverty elevation, especially among the young people, Nyota youth development programs that are supposed to be in place. My question through the Speaker is, Waziri, what mechanisms of evaluation and monitoring you have put in place to ensure that young people, or what you are doing in Nyota, and you know, Mr. Speaker, the issues of youth are so much more important that it needs the attention of the President. So, Speaker, what I'm asking is there evaluation and monitoring mechanisms that we have put in place? And Waziri, what strategies that are in place to ensure that this issue are long-term and ignore haters like Senator Sifuna, who doesn't even know where ODM certificate
we've
is?
Heard your question, Senator.
Is not a
Senator Fernandi, take your seat. Senator Seki.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My question goes direct to the CS, and it's in issues of irrigation development programs. Honorable CS, I believe there was a budget on the financial year 2024-2025 for irrigation schemes in Rombo, in Kajiado County, and in Kuruman, Magadi. Honorable Speaker, I would really wish to know the level and processes where that irrigation schemes is, because we don't see anything so far from those 2 financial years.
Senator John Yuchu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I refer to the response by the CS on economic empowerment, Mr. Speaker, and I refer specifically to Nyota program, Mr. Speaker, where when these funds are being distributed to young people, the President is always in attendance. So could the CS Treasury tell us exactly how much does the country spend in transporting the President
Senator Newton, that's a repeat question. It's a question that has already been asked. So just wait for its response.
Okay. Okay.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond, and kindly do so in less than 10 minutes so that we wrap up on this particular question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the question, the first question by Senator Mbugua on the Nyota program and the persons living with disabilities who have benefited or are benefiting from Nyota program, I wish to state that so far 26,000 persons living with a disability have benefited from this program. So it's not that they have been neglected completely. There is a component of the funding that has been designated specifically for persons living with a disability. Senator Muma has asked me about support to TVET institutions. As a matter of fact, we are supporting TVET institutions. We have included the funding of TVET together with other tertiary institutions and the Higher Education Loans Board program. And in terms of capitation, I know there was challenges, but it's not that we have not provided money completely. There are challenges with the funding of TVETs, and we have got the data on how to fund, how much is needed, but because of sometimes financial constraints, we are not able to provide enough funding to TVETs, but it remains a priority. In fact, we have even received some funding. We are receiving some funding from China to support the TVET activities. And TVET is at the core of the government agenda. As we prepare the budget of 26-27, we are going to make sure that TVETs are supported in terms of capitation, because that is where the challenge has been. Senator Shute, on Marsabit County, I wish that this information was required. I will make it available if that is needed on the projects that are ongoing in Marsabit. I may not know the status where they are because the line ministries are responsible, but we will do as much as we can to provide the projects that are being implemented in Marsabit County. But I would not dispute if Marsabit County is not or has not been receiving proper funding from the national government, because discrimination, marginalization, and exclusion in this country, Mr. Speaker, we cannot shy away from it. It has been a reality. And as leaders, we cannot run away from that responsibility. And I will look into the budget of 2026 with a clear objective of ensuring some equity and fairness. We may not have equal budget or equitable budget in year one, but we must start that progress. And if I had time, I would tell you some of the interventions that even personally I have intervened in the budget process to make sure that certain areas that have been ignored are actually taken care of. This morning, before I came here, I was having a meeting with MPs from the Northern Kenya region, and just to see how to give more support to that region in terms of budget, including the supplementary budget. So I agree with you that there could be some kind of marginalization, but that should be addressed. On the questions by Honorable Sifuna about the figures from Oxfam and my figures, I am quoting public figures, Mr. Speaker, and figures that have come from government institutions that I think we have faith in. Because again, every country has their system of doing their survey. If we have put a government institution in place that is doing household survey, and they've given us the data that in 2015, in 2009, our poverty index was at 54%. And that went down in 2015 to 36.1%. And went down even further in 2019 to 33.6%. But rose or went up during COVID to 42.9%. And then went down to 39.8%. I have no reason to doubt those figures, unless I am proved to be wrong, or the institution which is doing the survey is proved to be wrong. So I am relying on authentic figures, figures that we can challenge. If we feel we don't agree with the figures, we can challenge them. But these are statistics that have not come from the moon. They are with us, they are public documents, and can be checked. On the issue of Nyota, and whether it's a political rally, you know, Kenyans are very interesting, Mr. Speaker. When you don't communicate, they complain. They want public participation. When you do it, why are you doing it? You are politicizing. How much are you using? I don't know whether you expect the president to walk to Kisumu on foot to go and conduct public sensitization on a very critical and important program of government targeting the youth.
Order, honorable senators. Order. Order. Senator Fernandi, you either be orderly or I'll ask you to leave the chamber. I don't know where that excitement is coming from. Let us listen to the CS in silence. Now, Honorable Senator for Nairobi, you cannot rise on a point of order against the CS. It is up to the Speaker to rule. Proceed and conclude, Honorable CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was just explaining that we need proper sensitization to the youth in terms of how to run the businesses that they are going to start using this Nyota program. And again, we need no lesser office than the head of state to be able to articulate and explain to the youth the agenda of the government, because he was elected to address problems of Kenya. The president was not elected to sit at State House. We need a president who reaches to Kenyans, talk to them, explain the government programs. No. Mr. Speaker, on Majority Leader...
Honorable Senator, Honorable CS, yes. The question that has been asked by Senator for Nairobi is for you to tell the country how much has been expended.
Mr. Speaker, if I was...
If you don't have the figure...
Yeah, and again, but what I know is has been spent within the budget of the president to run the government. The president has a budget at State House to run programs. And all the expenditure...
Order, Honorable Senator. Senator Fernandi.
So, Mr. Speaker, the confirmation that I would give this House is that the budget that the head of state has spent in going around to sensitize Kenyans on the Nyota program is within the budget of State House provided by the National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya. Majority Leader asked me whether we have sanctioned the officers who probably were involved in giving us figures that were not accurate. I think the line ministry is dealing with that, but the line ministry helped us to clean the system, get 2 billion, which we actually reallocated to support health programs for those Kenyans who cannot afford to pay for their health programs. So this money that was saved was properly put to support the health programs. Senator Manzo, you asked me about Galana Kulalu. First, for us to be able to irrigate 200,000 acres of Galana Kulalu project, we'll have to do a dam along the river, the Galana, that around the Galana Kulalu. And it will be costing us almost 40 billion. Thwake Dam, I'm sure you are aware that we have unlocked all the challenges that were facing Thwake Dam. And therefore now, African Development Bank, and I signed with them, they are supposed now to complete the dam. So it is not a challenge anymore. We know where the challenge was, and I'm sure Senator is aware of the challenges. But in terms of irrigating Galana Kulalu, we need more resources to do a dam that will help us irrigate 200,000 acres. And Mr. Speaker, if we irrigate 200,000 acres, imagine 1 acre produces 30 bags of maize. That we approved, we harvested in December. Out of the 1,500 acres, each acre produced 30 bags. 30 bags times 200,000 acres is giving you 6 million bags. And the harvesting will be done twice in a year. So that is 12 million bags. And the deficit, the maize deficit that we have in Kenya, shortage is between 10 and 15. So Galana Kulalu alone can help us fix the problem of food deficiency in this country. Senator Murgo asked me on how we are assessing that we should assess at the family level as Rwanda is doing. And that is why when my last paragraph, I concluded by saying that we want to do participatory poverty assessment, which is a strategic evidence generation process. And I asked that the parliament should give us resources in the 2026-27 to undertake the 6th participatory poverty assessment. We've done 5 before. If we get resources, we are also in agreement that this participatory poverty assessment is a strategic evidence generation process that would help us address this matter. So I completely agree with Senator Murgo. Senator Wambua, I'm not relying on figures of 2022. If you look at my reports or my submission, it touches on some figures of 2022, some 2024. But again, some household figures, you cannot do assessment every day. It is even costly, it is expensive, you can't afford it. So we must have some periodic assessment. So some like household survey was done in that year, it will be done again, but you can't do it every year because the figures might have not even changed that much. So we are not relying on outdated figures, as you're saying, but some figures, yes, relate to 2022. Not very far off, because again, even census we did in 2019, we'll do it again in 2029, but we can be able to project our population based on that. Senator Consolata, mechanisms put in place to select, monitor, and feedback mechanisms. Every program that we have has an M&E component, including the Nyota, including now even the Ways of Fund. Each one of them has an M&E component in it, which provides us with feedback mechanism. That's why I'm able to report even on the impact of each of these fundings. Again, I think that was the same question that Senator Cherargei asked on M&E and how to see the impact it has on the young people. Senator Seki, you asked about specific irrigation projects. How again, I wish that I was aware of that question. I would have come with the data. So if this House may, if it is desirable, I can go and check and write back to the Senate to indicate where that program is. Senator John Methu, again, you asked the same questions. Newto, yes. Oh, sorry. I got your name wrong. You'll forgive me. But I know you very well. You are always a permanent visitor in not my sitting room, because you are always speaking when I'm in the office. You are always there on Citizen, so I watch you. And giving me some very good tips on how not to do things. But again, on your program, you are asked how much is being used to transport the president to this NOTA program. We spend as much as the parliament has appropriated to State House to support and facilitate the head of state. So that is what we spend. Thank you.
Now, honorable senators, we will move to question number 002. Senator Wakoli, you may ask question number 002. Let's handle question number 002.
Honorable Speaker.
Senator Wakoli, just resume your seat, please. Yes, Honorable CS. Honorable CS.
Honorable Speaker, Speaker, it is true. I forgot to address 3 questions. You know, I was writing, one is by Veronica Maina, a senator. Yes, you know, on the issue of fire incidences in Muranga, various places in Muranga, you know, we have a special state department dealing with emergencies and interventions like this one, the special programs program. And we resource them very well when there are these emergencies, because they can't wait. So I may not have information on what interventions have been taken, but that State Department deals with the emergencies. On the issue of this, Senator Bass. Senator Bass asked me how much we have allocated to the 13 counties for drought mitigation. When drought began, or incidences of drought began last year, July, the people we projected that would be affected were just about 2 million. Now the figure has risen to 3.3. The first request that I got, we gave 3 billion to support in the month of August. Then in the month of November, we gave 2.5 billion. That is 5.5. Then again in December, we gave 3 billion. So that's 8.5. Besides that, we also gave 500 million specifically for livestock intervention. So 9 billion so far has been spent, 9.057. The 057, which is 57 million, went to Elgeyo Marakwet for the flood intervention. But 9 billion went for drought mitigation. We have again, I've already approved another 4.1 billion to support drought intervention. So that will push it to over 13 billion. We are still monitoring the situation, and if it becomes dire, we will be forced again to put in more resources. So that, in a nutshell, is my response to your question. Lastly, the Senator for Kitui, yes, asked about, well, is this? Yes, pardon? Machakos, yes.
What question was it?
Anyway, the question was poverty reduction or mitigation.
That was Senator Betty Montet.
Oh, okay. I think I captured it. Kitui Senator is Wambua, isn't it? Yes. So I got it completely wrong. Now, poverty reduction or mitigation. Very thin line. You know, when you mitigate, you intervene and mitigate poverty, chances are that you will end up reducing poverty in the long run. Because, again, that intervention helps to give the capacity to help reduce poverty. And we've seen it, by the way, those who are getting cash transfer, some of them even end up saving part of that money to pay school fees. And when they pay school fees, their children get educated, and that is one way of giving empowerment and reducing poverty. So it can be both. Our interventions is both reduction and mitigation. Thank you.
Senator Wakoli, you may now ask question number 002.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for calming the various voices at the background, Honorable Speaker. Question number 2 to the Cabinet Secretary. A, could the Cabinet Secretary provide an update on the regulation and licensing status of digital lending platforms operating in Kenya? B, what measures are currently in place to curb predatory lending practices, including exorbitant interest rates, unethical debt recovery methods, and the misuse of borrowers' personal data? C, how is the ministry coordinating with other regulatory agencies to enforce consumer protection and data privacy standards within the digital credit market? D, what steps are being taken to promote fair, transparent, and responsible digital credit as part of financial inclusion while safeguarding citizens from exploitation? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this response has been prepared together with the Central Bank of Kenya. That is the National Treasury, together with the Central Bank of Kenya, would like to respond as follows. Question number A was, could the Cabinet Secretary provide an update on the regulation and licensing status of digital lending platforms operating in Kenya? This is my response. CBK licenses 3 categories of financial institutions to engage in lending to the public: commercial banks, microfinance banks, the commercial banks, 38 of them, microfinance banks, 14, and non-deposit taking credit providers, 195. Previously referred to as digital credit providers, And that is, I think, the gist and the genesis of this question. Principally, the licensing and oversight is undertaken pursuant to the Banking Act, Microfinance Act, and the CBK Act, respectively, and regulations thereunder. The statutes have elaborate and comprehensive measures in place for the licensing and oversight of the indicated financial institutions. As of December 2025, credit to private sector by commercial banks and microfinance banks and digital credit providers, let me call it that, was 4.3 trillion, 32 billion, and 110 billion respectively, representing 96.8%, 0.8%, and 2.4% of the credit advanced by the institutions respectively. This highlights the continued dominance of commercial banks in private sector credit at 96.8%. And again, the table has been, that table is an elaboration of what I've just said, because that was the first question. The question number B, what measures are currently in place to curb predatory lending practices, including exorbitant interest rates, unethical debt recovery methods, and the misuse of borrowers' personal data? This is my response. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, one of the purposes of licensing non-deposit taking credit provision is to ensure that consumers are duly protected from malpractices such as, let me read it again. One of the purposes of licensing non-deposit taking credit providers is to ensure that consumers are duly protected from malpractices such as predatory practices, including high interest rates, data protection breaches, and abuse of personal information. CBK thus engages with all non-deposit taking credit providers licensees to ensure that their pricing models are customer-centric and risk-based. CBK requires these institutions to submit pricing models that are aligned to the provisions of Regulations 27.2 of the DCP Regulations 2022. In view of this, CBK has been engaging with all its licensees to ensure that their pricing models are customer-centric and risk-based, as required by the law. Further, all product features and prices must be reviewed and approved accordingly by CBK. This is ongoing for the licensed non-deposit taking credit providers as well as all applicants. This is aimed at ensuring that the pricing models are fair, transparent, and empowering for consumers accessing the digital credit products. CBK works closely with the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner to coordinate enforcement actions and ensure consistent application of data privacy standards across the sector. The primary responsibility of implementing and enforcing the Data Protection Act rests with the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. To prevent cyber harassment and unauthorized data access, CBK monitors compliance through regular off-site surveillance and on-site inspections. These reviews assess the adequacy of licensees, internal controls, data governance frameworks, and day-to-day data handling practices, enabling prompt collective action where gaps are identified. Question C. How is the ministry coordinating with other regulatory agencies to enforce consumer protection and data privacy standards within the digital credit market? Honorable Speaker, this is my response. The primary mandate to implement and enforce the data protection rests with the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. Accordingly, CBK works in close collaboration with the office, as I mentioned before. And this collaboration strengthens sector-wide compliance and ensures that violations are addressed through joint investigation, audits, and, where necessary, penalties or a license revocation is applied. The second one is regulatory compliance requirements. CBK mandates all the licensed non-deposit taking credit providers to fully adhere to the DPA and its attendant regulations. As part of the licensing and supervisory framework, NDTCPs are required to obtain a certificate issued pursuant to Section 19 or pursuant to the law B, develop and implement a robust data protection policy. Number 3 is supervisory oversight and compliance monitoring. Compliance with the data protection obligations is monitored through regular off-site surveillance and targeted on-site inspections. And these reviews assess the adequacy of internal controls, as I mentioned, and data governance frameworks. Number 4 is the requirement for informed consent. Digital lenders are expressly required to obtain clear, informed, and explicit consent from borrowers before accessing personal data, including phone contact lists or location information. The use of consent must meet the standards outlined in the DPA and ensuring that, or the Data Protection Act, and ensuring that customers understand the purpose and scope of the data. Number 5 is enforcement of data minimization principle in line with the Regulation 33 of the Data Protection Regulations 2021. CBK enforces the principle of data minimization. Question number D was around what steps are being taken to promote fair, transparent, and responsible digital credit as part of financial inclusion while safeguarding citizens from exploitation. And Mr. Speaker and honorable members, this is my response. Licensing and regulatory oversight. CBK requires all non-deposit taking credit providers to be licensed under a DCP regulatory framework that outlines eligibility criteria, governance, operation standards, and consumer protection obligations. Number 2, supervisory engagement and capacity building. CPK has continued to actively engage licensed non-deposit taking credit providers via off-site reviews and targeted on-site inspections, as I had indicated before. Number 3 is technology-driven compliance monitoring. CBK's enterprise data warehouse system integrates with the non-deposit taking credit providers for streamlined data submission covering lending activities, governance, consumer protection, and redress. Further, CBK collects periodic returns on outstanding credit from non-deposit taking credit providers via the bank supervision application. The other one, or number 4, is consumer redress and dispute resolution mechanism, where CBK requires all these non-deposit taking credit providers to establish effective consumer complaints handling policies as a licensing condition. And these policies must include clear guidance on lodging complaints, dedicated complaints communication channels, and defined timelines for acknowledgement, investigation, and resolution. The other one is enforcement and sanction. That's number 5. Again, that is explained there, Mr. Speaker, for honorable members to see. Number 6, recently issued draft CBK non-deposit taking credit provider regulations of 2025. Following challenges experienced since implementing the digital credit legal and regulatory framework in March 2022, amendments to the CBK Act through the Business Law Amendment Act of 2024 have informed the drafting of new regulations. Key proposals include expanding the scope beyond digital lending to cover all non-deposit taking credit providers, businesses not regulated under other laws, such as buy now, pay later arrangements, peer-to-peer lending, and pay-as-you-go arrangements. The other thing is, which these regulations have addressed, is introducing a tied licensing and regulatory framework to enable a risk-based regulatory approach, easing requirements for lower, for lower risk providers and improving oversight efficiency. The next one is the credit providers continue to harass and or mistreat customers. Thus, the urgent need to enhance the penalty for mistreating or harassing consumers. That has now been provided through regulation. Finally, enhancing penalties for violations and failure to comply with the provisions of the Act. And these regulations and any other regulations, guidelines, code of conduct, directive, order, or condition imposed by the bank from 500,000 now to 2 million shillings to be dissuasive and instill discipline among the non-deposit taking credit providers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Senator Wafula, any supplementary questions? We shall proceed to take supplementary questions from the other senators. Senator Alexander Mudigi.
Asante Bwana Spika, swali langu ni kwa asili katika Embu County na katika act ya ya disposal, kuna magari nyingi sana katika Embu County zinafaa ziuzwe, na ninajua hii swali sio katika Embu County peke yake, na sina wrong book, na hiyo imekuwa kila wakati wote inakuwa ni audit query. Tungetaka kujua Embu County hiyo wrong book zitapatikana wakati gani, na hiyo magari itaondolewa wakati gani, na sitafanyika namna gani ndio siweze kuondolewa ama siweze kusaidia watu.
Senator Mundigi, swali yako haihusiani na swali ile ambayo iliulizwa. Iko nje ya
swali langu Bwana Speaker, ilikuwa general questions na nilikuwa nimeomba before ile speaker mwingine aondoke. Bwana Speaker.
Senator Mundigi, hakuna kitu kama general questions. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Swali yako inafaa kuhusiana na ile swali ambayo iliulizwa na Senator Wafula.
Lakini Bwana Speaker, wakati before ile speaker mwingine aondoke nilikuwa nimeuliza.
Basi ilipitwa na wakati.
No, lakini aliondoka na akasema nitauliza in general questions.
Tutawachia waziri aamue kama ako na hiyo information ndo akupatie jawabu. Kama hana, itakuwa ni jukumu yake kwa pengine kukuandikia kando. Senator Beth Siango. No. Kajwang Moses. Senator Kajwang, najua umengojea lakini si unaona orodha hapo?
Nimeona.
Nilikuwa natafuta jina yako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was about to ask my question in Swahili, then I remembered that it is CS Mbadi in the House. I might challenge him a bit if I proceeded in Swahili. But Mr. Speaker, CS Mbadi is one of those people who make me believe in this government because of the actions he has taken since he went into office. I wanted to ask on the digital credit providers. In 2000, Joe Donde moved this nation to amend the Banking Act and to introduce Section 44A that introduced the in duplam rule. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to find out from the CS what measures the Treasury is taking to ensure that digital credit providers do not violate Section 44A of the Banking Act, which simply states that interest should never exceed the principal. We have seen most of these online and digital credit platforms where the interest is exploitative. The interest sometimes is double or triple the principal. Could the CS tell us what he's doing to ensure that DCPs are also regulated and are also subjected to Section 44A of the Banking Act, in as much as they might not be pure banks, but it is important for Kenyans to be protected from exploitative interest and exploitative lending behaviors. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Steve Lelengwe.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wanted to ask a supplementary question to the Cabinet Secretary regarding the first question, question 0001. I'm not sure whether I can proceed.
We've passed that already. Senator Mohammed Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Just a moment. Senators, if you're not intending to ask a question, could you please unclick your button so that we can have only the senators who want to ask questions on the schedule. Proceed, Senator Chute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The question I'm about to ask is within the knowledge of the CS, which is a bit out of what we are here today for. But I would want, if he can answer now also is fine. If he can answer later on, it's fine. Honorable Speaker, there is Engineer Joseph Wagoguyo, personal number 198-605-9914. The engineer died in November 2020, and to date, the dues has not been paid. His wife, the widow, asked me to ask the CS.
Senator Chute, I'm going to remind you the same thing I reminded Senator Mundingi, you're asking a question which is outside the
I have already said
the line question which was been
I have
asked.
said it.
Yes, you've said it, but
It's
your
up to the
question
CS.
is so detailed about an individual. You cannot expect the CS at this very moment to answer that question.
I have put, what I did, Honorable Speaker, is I said he can answer now or later on.
No, he cannot answer now or he cannot answer later because it is not in
Honorable
the question.
Speaker,
It
I
is
am
not in
asking-
line of question.
I am asking this question.
Senator Chute.
Allow me.
Senator Chute, what you can do, if I'm to advise you, seek an appointment with the CS, take the matter to him, because he will have to ask his officers for the file.
Honorable Speaker.
You cannot expect him. No, we will not argue on this, Senator Chute. Please take a seat. We're going to take the next question. Senator Joe Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I refer to question number B and the response by the CS, Mr. Speaker. And this is about exorbitant interest rates and what the CS is doing to see to it that Kenyans are not exploited through these predatory lending practices, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted to ask the CS, whom Senator Kajwang has described as one of the reasons that he trusts this government, to tell us whether he thinks that the former situation that we had, where we had fixed bank lending rates, is something that we should revisit. Because, Mr. Speaker, this was, in my view, very progressive to borrowers. So does he think that we can go back to the situation where we had fixed bank lending rates? And if not, tell us why he thinks that we should not go back to that particular situation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Samson Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One is I want to find out from the Cabinet Secretary on this issue of digital credit providers. What mechanisms, because we have seen most of them are exploitative in terms of interest, and even they have Shylock-like predatory, it's called predatory lending, Mr. Speaker. What mechanisms have been put in place by the Ministry of National Treasury and the Cabinet Secretary to ensure that these digital providers, lenders, are within the Banking Act and they are not exploitative like when you borrow from Shwari, for example, in Safaricom, and the blacklisting. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, there was a hue and cry, especially from the youth, where when you borrow, they sometimes even switch your phone, even if it is Mulika Muise, Mr. Speaker. So we need what we call consumer protection in short, especially to the lenders in digital issues. And I want to ask Senator Newton not to be worried. There is a lot to believe in this government. It should not be just pessimistic. There is a lot, even we are doing in Muranga Mau Mau roads. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Cherargei, why do you seek points of orders for no reason? And you're just supposed to ask your question. Senator Nyoto, yes, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I think Senator Cherargei should stop dumping these boats all the time and take time to listen. I did not at all. I have platforms to express my displeasure with this failed government, but I did not. In my question to the CS, I did not say, I actually just referred to the comment that Senator Kajwang made. I did not say whether or not, like Senator Kajwang, I believe in this government. So, Mr. Speaker, it's important that you ask Senator Cherargei to stop being the sycophant that he has been and take time to listen to submissions by other members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mundingi.
Bwana Spika, Bwana Nyotu angefaa kusema serikali ambayo imeanguka. Labda imeanguka kwa DCP, lakini sio kwa Kenya. Kwa hivyo anafaa aondoe hiyo mjadala wake, kwa sababu tumeona vile serikali ambaye ya William Ruto vile imefanya kazi kwa kina mama, kwa wazee, kwa vijana, kwa asili kama ule ni wa serikali ya broad based, alafu sasa akuja kudanganya Wakenya hapa ati serikali imeanguka. Nataka nimfahamishe hii serikali itaenda miaka ingine 7. Serikali William Ruto atakaa miaka 10. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senators, we need to proceed with the questions. Yes, Eddie. Sorry, yes, Senator Eddie.
Mr. Speaker, mine is just, I think it's a point of order. But, Mr. Speaker, it's very difficult to get these ministers, the CSS, for us to be able to ask them questions in whichever platform. I know it might be easier to say, let Eddie Okech go to the minister's office. But I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, I have called a number of ministers, including the minister who is here, Minister John Mbadi, and you don't get them on phone. So when they come to this house, Mr. Speaker, just wait. I'm on a point of order. I'm on a point of order number 51C, which talks about the responses to questions by cabinet secretaries. That's where I was heading to. Mr. Speaker, if you read 51C7, it says, upon the issuance of a response or making of a statement under paragraph 1, which is basically answering the questions, the Speaker may, the word there is may, not shall, may allow the senator who asks the question to raise a maximum of 2 supplementary questions that relate to the question. That relate to the question. The person who asks the question to the minister shall relate their question, supplementary question, to the question they have related. And then B says, allow any other senator to ask a supplementary question. A supplementary question which might not be related. This is the sense of this point of order. If the intention was to make sure that the question here relates to the other question, it could have been provided in this provision, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Speaker, allow us to ask this CSS any question that is supplementary to the best of what is affecting my people and what is affecting Kenyans. I wanted to request, Mr. Speaker, that and this is not to verify your ruling, Mr. Speaker, but I wish that Senator Chute, could be allowed to ask his questions, because it's difficult to get these ministers when you go to their offices, when you call them. So when they come here, this is the house of the people, just allow us to ask the questions, because here it says, it's not for the other senators. It's not may. It's not related to the question that was asked. It's for any supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to plead with you, Mr. Speaker, to allow us to ask those questions.
Senator, thank you. I have heard you. Order, senators. Order, senators. Order, Senator Cherargei. He doesn't want your assistance. Senator Eddie, as you've clearly read the order paper, I mean the standing orders, you underlined even may. The Speaker may. And I have chosen not to allow those questions. So it is within my prerogative. And if you're itching to ask a question, why don't you file the questions on time so that you can ask it on the floor of the House? We have another cabinet secretary waiting, and we are spending too much time with the CS of Treasury. So we will proceed, senators. Senator Cherargei, you asked your question. So it's Senator Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I don't envy you. It's very difficult to steer this House on track sometimes when the kind of interactions I've seen this morning. Mr. Speaker, I have a quick question to the Minister with regards to question 2 on these predatory lending practices by various business entities. One of the reasons why I celebrate you, Minister, is that you have really demystified this position of the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury. You're the first minister to go in charge of finance, to go to Bunge la Mwananchi and engage citizens at the level which you're doing. I'd wish that you do it more. At your next visit, Mrs. Cabinet Secretary, please interact with our young men who ply the border business, and you will appreciate this problem, how much of a menace it is to them. That there are people who give them motorbikes, and at the end of the paying period, they have paid almost triple the amount it will have cost them to acquire that particular motorbike. When you tie that to the question that was asked by your own Senator, Senator Moses Kajwang, you appreciate that these companies are completely in violation of all existing laws of the land. So what is your State Department doing with particular focus on the border sector, Minister, and the loan sharks that exist in that particular space that are exploiting our young people who slave for them? By the time they finish paying for the loan of the motorbike actually is completely worn out and there's nothing else they can do for it, and they haven't made anything of substance to them. Can we curb this menace, Mr. Minister? I thank you.
Senator Enoch Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For some strange reason, Senator Cheriot seems to have asked the question that I wanted to ask, but I will ask a different one. Bwana CS, let me congratulate you for what you're trying to do to rein in these predators. But the real predators will be found in the Shylock space. People who are really preying on the desperation of Kenyans, especially young Kenyans, for quick money, but the repayment is as painful as pain can get. What would your ministry, department, do to ensure that you clean up that mess about the Shylocks? They are really, really exploiting young people. They are really, really bringing a lot of pain in households. I know quite a number of families that have actually been broken because of the activities of Shylocks. What are you doing about that space? I thank you.
Senator Manzo.
A very brief one, Mr. Speaker, on the same. What is the Cabinet Secretary doing, or is he aware of the credit facilities whereby logbooks are used as, are used to borrow monies, and the practicality of the interest rates, which keep on changing on a daily basis, are that it becomes very difficult to ever recover your car once you've given it to these people who use logbooks, so for people to access quick money, and then it becomes mission impossible. Is the government controlling that sector also? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary. Give the CS the mic. Yeah, it's on.
Oh, it's back. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, listening to the various questions, I think I want to condense them to just about 3. Because the first question, which is of major concern, is the exploitative nature of some of these credit providers, especially digital credit providers. And again, Senator Cheriot has also brought in those who are giving loans to even border people. And this is something we live with every day. We see them. Senator, I agree with you absolutely. And my commitment to you, Senator Cheriot, is that I will have an engagement with the border operators soon, just to interact with them and understand their concerns. But to answer this concern became apparent to us, and that is why in 2024, because there was no proper legal framework to deal with these credit providers. So in 2024 December, through Tax Laws Amendment Bill, one of my first assignments in office was to bring some of these amendments, to bring these digital credit providers into the supervisory role and purview of the CBK. And right now, they have to have their pricing model approved to ensure that they follow Nduplam rule, which Senator Moses asked about. And we have even enhanced penalty to 2 million shillings from 500,000. So whatever they do now is covered in law, and therefore they must comply with the law. Anyone who is not complying with the law risks facing the penalties that have been set in law. And so, unlike before, right now they are under the supervisory role and purview of the CBK. And that also addresses the question by Honorable Manzo that there are people who offer credit facilities, take logbooks with the sole objective of selling these assets, because they know that the way they have structured their debts is in a way that you are not going to be able to settle the debts. Now they must operate within the law, because the law is there. If they don't want to follow the law, then obviously they will be penalized, and penalized properly. And even in their licenses can be revoked. And I agree with the Senator Chiragai that these people sometimes behave like Shylocks. So that is why now we have brought them under Section 44A, and there are regulations now that have been prepared to address the same. The other issue that was asked by Senator Nyutu about whether we should go back to that period when we had fixed interest or bank lending rates. My quick response is no. By the way, it may look very appetizing and easy to think that you can control the bank interest rates, but the effect it would have on the economy would be dire. I will tell you, we need a free economy, which is only regulated. That's why CBK is there. If we control interest rates, first, you are discouraging investment in your country. And again, you are making your country, we are not living in isolation. You are making your country uncompetitive. Even the credit rating of your country will go down when you start putting some restrictions in terms of interest rates. So the economic effect of that would not, the economic effect, the negative side, is much more than the positive side. That is why we use the monetary policies of CBK to be able to deal with the rising interest rates. When interest rates were rising so fast, at a point we had 17.2 as the average lending rate in our banks, I think in 2024, November. Today it has come down to 14.6, 14.8. Why? Because of the intervention by CBK and also the National Treasury's support by stabilizing the foreign exchange, by taking some actions like de-risking our debt portfolio to remove the exposure that our economy was subjected to in 2024. So all this combined, and then asking banks and changing the system. Like now, we have changed the system of the overnight lending rate. I'm sure you're aware, Senator, that this will definitely help manage the interest rates or credit lending to the private sector, as opposed to coming in with tough regulatory regime that may not look friendly for, because we are in the international space. I think, yeah, I think I'd already addressed the question by Senator Wambua. And now on the question by, I don't see Eddie Okech here. Eddie complained about ministers not being found. And like right now, honorable senators, if anyone was to call me that person would not find me on the phone. And yesterday, actually from 2 p.m. to 6:30, I was engaged with 2 committees of National Assembly. And the previous day, I was with the committee of the Senate. That is aside from the engagement that I have in the office and the event that I have. So, but I'm really trying to be available to people's representatives. If Senator Okech was here, I would have said that at least him is lucky, because last Saturday we traveled with him together to a rally in Siaya. And so he got opportunity to talk to me, unlike Senator Cherargei, who has not had opportunity for a very long time to be with me. And I hope Senator Cheriot, who has also not had time, will have time this Friday to be with me in Soba. And so we can engage and discuss other matters. No, but I've invited you. Kajwang is my younger brother, so he will definitely come. So I wanted to stop there and just thank Mr. Speaker. I wanted to just stop there because I think I've addressed all the questions that I was asked, and just give a commitment once more that anytime I'm invited, I will be available. And ndugu yangu toka Embu, my great friend, yes, Senator, kama uko na swali yeyote kuhusu Embu, nitapea jawabu. Ukiandika na unitumie hiyo swali kwa wizara yangu, nitakuja hapa nikuelezee ni shida gani ama tutatatua namna gani. I just wanted to prove that I can speak some Kiswahili. You know, the way Moses put it is like I don't even understand Kiswahili, but I have a pass in Kiswahili to the extent that in 2007, when I was running for parliamentary seat, at that time Senate Speaker, there was a requirement that if you did not do a Kiswahili and pass in a high school, you had to do what we call proficiency test in either, both English and Kiswahili. Fortunately, I was passed that I could not do proficiency tests in both languages because I passed them in high school. So I am both proficient in English and Kiswahili, but I'm a master of Luo language. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
CS. Yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you for indulging me, Speaker, before the Cabinet Minister leaves. You know, this is a CS for Treasury, and it's important sometimes we engage him as a House on certain things. I know we're in the BPS season, Mr. Speaker, and I have said that I appreciate this Cabinet Minister because he's distinct in how he does his things. Part of the bigger problem the Senate of the Republic has always had with the National Treasury is how much they ignore the findings and the resolutions of the Senate with regards to BPS. They never respond to them. None of it is ever acted. So I want to challenge CS Mbadi that if you want to become successful even more than what you already have become, please take time and inbuilt into our national budget the recommendation from the Senate on the budget policy statement. All your other previous ministers have ignored it, and I don't want to say what the results have been. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, as a House, we have tried to pursue the very elusive 450 billion plus as shareable revenue to counties. Given that there are few key state departments that you are now taking off main national budget by funding them through the National Infrastructure Fund program, which the government is introducing, as you come back to us in a month or two, Minister, with the budget proposal, kindly try and push it as far as 450. That is a request from the Senate. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Honorable Senators, we have come to the end of question time with the CS. Senator Mandago, you've just walked in. We had actually concluded. It is only, I only gave the indulgence to the Majority Leader. Cabinet Secretary, I really thank you. He was speaking on behalf of the House. It was a matter of public BPS. Huh? No, we have to. We have the other Cabinet Secretary sitting and waiting to be asked questions. So can we please allow the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury to take leave? Cabinet Secretary, we thank you for your time. And Bwana Waziri, Senator Chute has really pleaded that he really wants to take that matter with you. So if maybe he will write to you to seek for an appointment with the details. So because I understand what he's asking requires your officers to look through it. So Chute, the CS, will be expecting a letter from you with the question and the details so that he can give you an appointment. That's in order. Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon. It's still morning, sorry. Good morning. Please show, Sergeant Shams, show in the next Cabinet Secretary. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this morning, visiting teachers and students from Mongori High School in Nyamira County. The delegation consists of 7 teachers and 44 students. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to the Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. Senator Enoch Wambua, you can welcome them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity to extend a word of welcome to the visiting delegation of our students and teachers from Nyamira County and thank them for choosing to visit the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. I know that the Senator for Nyamira, who is our commissioner in the Parliamentary Service Commission, and actually sits next to me, is at home undertaking important national duty and county duty. And I also want to thank the students and the teachers and send them to their parents to extend our appreciation from the alternative government for the warm reception that they have given our team in Nyamira and Kisii. And we continue this way, the future is looking very bright. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary, Interior, National Administration, Senator Murkomen, welcome to the House. Thank you very much for coming. We shall proceed straight to asking the questions because of time. The question number 3 to be asked by Shakila Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, question number 3, fatal shooting of Mr. Victor Kipngeno Mutai by police officers. Honorable Speaker, this is a question for Mr. nominated Senator, Honorable Joyce Korir, has requested to be apprised of the fatal shooting of Mr. Victor Kipngeno Mutai by police officers on 23rd July 2024 in Bomet County. The Honorable Member particularly sought to be informed on A, the current status of investigations into the death of Mr. Victor Kipngeno Mutai, who was fatally shot during a security operation by police officers from Silibweti Police Station in Bomet County. Number 2, whether the responsible police officers has been apprehended, and if not, outline the measures in place to facilitate the arrest and prosecution of the officer. And C, the measures in place to prevent police officers accused of extrajudiciary killing from interfering with investigations, and to ensure that those responsible are brought to books. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, thank you for inviting me to this august house again to respond to these two questions. And because of time, I will go straight to the to respond straight to the question by Honorable Joyce Korir. Honorable Speaker, nominated Senator Honorable Joyce Korir has requested to be apprised of the fatal shooting of Mr. Victor Kimweno Mutai by police officers on the 23rd of July 2024 in Bomet County. The Honorable Member particularly sought to be informed on the current status of the investigation, the current status of investigations into the death of Mr. Victor Kimweno, and I respond as follows. Honorable Speaker, on 23rd July 2024, a team of 7 police officers from Silibwet Police Station who were on patrol duties received intelligence reports that certain individuals were engaged in the sale of illicit alcohol beverage at Masese Market. At the scene, the officers found a large group of individuals taking the illicit alcohol drinks. When the officers attempted to effect the arrest, the group became hostile. In an effort to disperse the crowd and restore order, the officers discharged warning shots into the air, and during the ensuing confrontation, Mr. Victor Kimweno Mutai sustained fatal injuries. The incident was subsequently reported and recorded at the station via OB number 20/23/7/2024 at 21:15 hours. Investigations commenced immediately with the opening of inquiry file number 2 of 2024 by DCI Bomet Central. Upon completion of investigations, the file was forwarded to the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions on 12th September 2024 for perusal and legal advice. On the 2nd of December 2024,